Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
This story takes place in the 1950s. My grandpa was a teenager back then. He lived in a small village, 500 houses, near a small town, Prokuplje, in the south of Serbia. A couple of years before this story, the communists collectivized all of the goats in these parts, meaning the bastards stole them, and for some reason put a ban on owning them. So the area was empty of goats. Be my grandpa, walking from school with a friend. Class ended at 1945. 7:45 p.m. It's night outside. Talking about girls and stuff. The same as today, but no phones. As soon as we enter the 5-kilometer-long road through the woods, we feel nothing. All is as usual. We shoot the breeze. Halfway through, the friend starts behaving strange, looking around the forest, sniffing the air. My grandpa asks him, "What's up? Did you see something?" "Nah, it's just that I think something died around here recently." "Don't you smell it?" Grandpa smells nothing. He thinks his friend is imagining it. The friend starts kind of freaking out. "How can you not smell it? Don't play around. There might be wolves." My grandpa looks at him like he's crazy, and then it hits him. He can smell it. Blood. He also starts looking around the woods, but after 20 minutes the smell disappears. They think they must have passed the carcass, start joking, and soon they forget about the whole thing. After half an hour, my grandpa casually turns around. At this point, when he was telling me his story, he got really pale and stopped for a moment. It was like he was reconsidering telling me the story anymore, but I pushed him to finish it. He saw a goat in a tree right behind them. He turns around and tells his friend to keep walking. A feeling of dread comes over them. He feels like if he turns around again, something bad might happen. His friend feels it too. He must, since he does not turn around. They walk like that, in silence, shitting bricks for an hour and a half. He finishes his story there. They got home, never looked into the woods when they exited, and it never happened again. The thing is, I don't believe he just saw a goat.
Last year in 12th grade, me and my friend are taking a photography course. We have a project to take pictures of nature in whatever perspective, can't remember. Being a Friday, I go to my friend's house, which is in a shitty neighborhood. Supposedly, there are meth heads and shit around here, according to him. I believe it, as the place is broken down and creepy as shit for being in a small town. Anyway, there is a forest by his house, along a twisting, turning, long road. We decide to go there for the project. Friend is trying to find a trail that goes deep into the woods that he and others found another time. Along the road, we stumble upon a giant cement block, partially covered in dirt and having trees growing on it. There are empty vodka bottles laying around, broken glass, syringes with brown chunky liquid, and so on. Me and my friend, being teenage shits, decide to investigate further. We go deeper into the woods, finding more drugs laying along the way. Suddenly, we stumble upon a house within a clearing, with a truck despite having no roads or paths which a car can get through easily. We decide to look for a bit. Even if we were dumb, we knew snooping around someone's house was bad. The house was relatively clean and well polished, though some windows were dusty and a bit grimy. The red truck outside has its hood open, and a majority of the parts were missing. My friend finds a little hole within a small, unseen garage on the other side of the house, leading within the walls. I reluctantly enter, though creeped out as I am a coward. Fine burn marks stretched up the inside of the walls, opposing the well-cleaned seemingness of the outside. Spooky .gif. We use the light from our cameras along the way to guide us in the dark walls. Friend trips over a wooden beam on the ground and crashes through the wall. We enter into a large stone room with one wood wall, which seems impossible to fit within the medium-sized house on the outside. On the opposing side is a stone staircase leading up. My friend practically drags me along as I am incredibly spooked and creeped out at this point. We go up and up, still diagonally, with no turns nor breaks in the stairs. I decide to take a break. I was chubby at the time. Upon finding a single step larger and with more space than the rest. It was a large staircase. My friend waves me off and continues upwards, telling me I can catch up. I sit down for a few seconds, my anxiety growing larger. After a minute, I decide to run after him. Just out of view from the large step, I find a relatively small wooden room with a single window in the center of the opposing wall. I enter the room and look out the window, which was a foot away from me. I see the clearing far below us. I seem to be at the top of the house. I turn around and see a door just beside the staircase, outside my point of view when climbing the stairs. It is ajar. I enter. The room is dark and the floor is rough like dirt. Groping through the dark, I accidentally trip over something laying in the dirt. I collapse onto the ground, falling in muddy water. My hand, which went into the mud, is stuck and I can't get it out. I struggle for a few seconds before calling for help. Suddenly the door closes and I am trapped in darkness. Hear the sound of footsteps slowly walking among the muddy ground. Nope.jpg. Tell my friend to stop this shit right now. The walking stops for a second, then resumes. I panic and am on the verge of tears. The door opens and a light clicks on. My friend is standing at the doorway, holding his camera and shining it in the room. The muddy ground covers everything, even splattering up the walls. He tells me he went back for me after a few minutes. He didn't find me on the staircase, so he went upward looking for me when he heard me yell. I tell him what happened. He shines the camera light around the room for a few seconds, examining the rather small room. There is nothing but the mud. Literally nothing. He then says to cut the shit and stop trying to creep him, as he did not find me on his descent upwards. What dot, Wav? Really spooked and crying internally, but don't let it show. Pretend I was fooling with him. We get up and leave the way we came. Since then, I've attempted to find the house again, but I simply can't. And there are no clearings in that forest. I have searched over and over.
This one's from Halloween night, 2007. 15 years old at the time. With my younger brother, 13 years old. Decide to be the cool, rebellious older brother, and instead of trick-or-treating, take him to pull some pranks. Spend the week before coming up with a solid idea for an original prank just for the occasion. Then it hit me. Bro and I pick out the most unsettling masks we could find. We settled on 2 matching masks that looked like realistic-looking pigs' heads. Beady eyes, dirty skin and all. They were perfect. We put on the masks and go around to different houses peeking in through the windows, and then wait. Inevitably, after a few minutes, someone in the house would turn, catch a glimpse of us, let out a scream. Then we'd piss ourselves laughing and book it to the next house. After doing this about 20 times, we reach this small, rusty-looking shack of a house. Decide to scare whoever lives there, and then call it a night. We peek into the side window and see an older lady wearing a long, flowing nightgown. It was like 12 a.m. after all, facing the corner away from us. Start giggling out of anticipation. Then she just snaps her view right to us. I swear to Christ, she must have turned her head at least 135 degrees. Brother and I jump, but we're not convinced she actually saw us, so we stood our ground. Lady starts hovering toward us. I know that sounds like shit, but if someone's walking, you should be able to see their knees move through their clothes, right? But no. This lady's lower half didn't move a goddamn centimeter, yet she kept heading toward us. After walking about 10 feet, she opens her mouth and this thick crayon red vomit gushes out of her mouth. No reaction, no turning her head or bending over. Nothing. Just open mouth, vomit, close mouth, keep walking. Realized that this was a bad idea, but by the time she had her hand on the doorknob. Being a dumbass 15-year-old, I take my brother and hide under the deck on the front side of the house. The house was raised a good 3 feet off the ground, and there was a nice hiding spot under the deck. Brother and I sit there quietly while the lady walks on the deck above us. Eventually, she sits down in a rocking chair on the porch and waits. Every few minutes, we look through the tiny cracks in the wood to see if she was still there. Sure enough, she was. 3 fucking hours of crouching under the deck later, we hear her stand up and shuffle back inside. Right before she closes the door, we hear her say, "Good night, John. Good night, Anon." Hearing her say our actual names whenever we live half an hour away and knew nobody there made us lose it. Bro and I haul ass for about 3 miles straight back. Epilogue. We eventually checked out the house in the daytime about a week later, and it didn't look dirty or unorganized. It looked like it had been abandoned for decades. Paint peeling off, overgrown lawn, grass and weeds up to my hip, broken windows galore, entire sections of shingles fallen off, gutters broken off and dangling off the side of the house, walls coated in dirt and dust. Fucking awful. Didn't check if the lady was in there though, because fuck that, and fuck her.
Never told anyone about this. I was about 10 years old at home with Mum and Dad. Nan and Grandfer came up to visit. Lovely evening. They only stayed a couple of hours and they got ready to leave. My mum has always been really formal with seeing people out, so all 5 of us stood in the doorway saying goodbye to Nan and Grandfer. All of a sudden we heard a huge crash coming from in the dining room. Something huge had fallen down the chimney and knocked the fireplace across the other side of the room, 10 feet or so. Dad looked in, said shit, and closed the door with all of us outside. Heard thumping noises shaking the house still. It was trying to climb out of the chimney. We've had birds fly down before, gulls, etc. But this noise was much, much louder than that. Mum was telling Dad off for some reason, like she knew this would happen. Mum had me in my coat, and we were all leaving the house within a minute of the crash. Dad had secured the room with a metal pole through the door handle. Drove off with Nan, Grandfer, and Mum. Dad stayed to, I don't know. Nothing was spoken about this incident for years. I asked Dad and he said, "Yeah, I know. Crazy night. Don't mention it around Mum at all. In fact, don't mention it again to him, and that's it. Weird family secret." The dining room has weird properties too, since money sticks to walls and ceiling. Notes, coins, anything. Just not ordinary metals.
I'll start off by saying that I love bump in the night type stuff without buying into it at all. You don't have to believe any of it. You just need an imagination strong enough to scare yourself. People tend to go overboard with their bullshitting too much, and it's always obvious when they do, because it's structured like a cheap horror story, with cliché money shots teenagers go to when they think of something scary. It's the subtle things that are the creepiest, things you can't even begin to wrap your mind around. That's why they're the most fun. I've had very few genuinely unexplainable things happen to me throughout my life so far, And by unexplainable, I mean from what I saw from my perspective, I could never have enough context to reason them away. I like it like that. I'll tell this one story as accurately as possible. It's completely mundane, but that's how a lot of my favorite, real, spooky stories are. I was probably about 8 or 9, spending the night at my, at the time, best friend's condo that bordered a thick patch of woods. It was some weekend in the fall, and after asking our dads and all that kid drama over being allowed to spend the night, I was dropped off during the day, and like usual, we spent most of that day playing in the polluted ditch out back and running around in the woods. Some of this is me filling in gaps as best as I can because it was almost 20 years ago. But I remember something happening earlier in the day that probably set off the whole thing. Some nonsense in the late evening that gets that creepy feeling rolling for the night. Like other imaginative, caffeinated kids, we manufactured a kid mythology explaining all the most mundane things in a fun way, using bits and pieces of the stupid crap we watched and played. The creek and woods behind my friend's condo was the biggest target for this. As far as we knew, we were the only people we ever saw back there, so it was up to us to decide what it really was. Explorers' rights and all that. There was a marshy section with large thorned bushes we called the Thorn Plantation, where the ground was practically quicksand. It was probably just muddy, and deep inside it some thorns were as big as your hand. They definitely weren't. Or another corner of the woods absolutely packed with thick brambles we called Hell House. Obviously, we didn't see these woods as some sort of fairy tale land. After all, to suburban kids, woods might be fun, but they were definitely creepy, which, as long as you kept it under control, made it even more fun. Any group of woods in the middle of the suburbs is going to have teenagers hanging around in it. And while we never caught them in the act, we definitely came across the aftermath. Wet, moldy mattresses and sofas, blank paper thrown all over a field in the morning, a mounted deer head hanging from a rope in a tree. This was all very, very weird stuff to a kid. I can't remember for sure if we suspected older kids of doing it, because bullshit kind of takes on a life of its own if you talk about it enough. But we came to the conclusion that weirdos must be doing it, whoever they were. They went from being a goofy explanation to basically bogeyman when the situation demanded. All of the things we invented about them became the gospel truth when we were scared enough. They lived somewhere deep in the woods, came out at night, and did all sorts of weird shit for whatever reason, or no reason, because somehow that was even scarier. Getting back to that particular day, I remember us being out towards the back part of the woods where my friend was showing me some god-awful treehouse he was putting together with crooked nails and scrap wood. I remember bringing with me my new orange and transparent plastic snub nose cap gun to show it off, and of course to protect us from anything stupid enough to show its face. Our imagination got riled up somehow, as it usually did. I think we heard something in the trees, a thicker part of the woods where we really couldn't go, and all of the leaves had already fallen, so this became much more unsettling than it normally would have been. Talk quickly turned to weirdos, and my friend convinced me to try to scare them away with the cap gun. I fired off a few shots as threateningly as possible, but the quiet afterwards just highlighted every little twig snapping for a mile around. It was still plenty bright outside, so all of this, while creepy, was in mostly good fun, and we made our way back sometime later. The period from then until maybe 1 in the morning is pretty much lost to me now. I can't remember if that uneasiness escalated gradually throughout the evening, or just started showing up again later on when we were sleep-deprived and everything was quiet in the house. I have very vague memories of thinking we were chased from the woods by something earlier in the day, but I can't say for sure if it really happened or it was bullshit we made up to tell people later on. Either way, we're sitting at a computer in the living room playing ancient game demos, up way later than we were supposed to be. What happened next is a little fuzzy. We heard his dad come down the stairs and set something in the kitchen. From the way the condo was laid out, the little alcove the PC was in blocked the view of both the stairs and kitchen by way of a thin island stacked with shit, so we were trying hard to focus on might and magic or whatever to look like we were ignorant of the time in case he looked around the corner and caught us. It was a minute of us not saying a thing, barely breathing and hoping he would just walk back upstairs without noticing the PC area light on and us sitting there. Everything was dead silent, and we almost started laughing, imagining him sitting there trying to hear us while we did the same. But it went on and on. If he really thought we were there, wouldn't he just look around the corner? That's when my friend got up and peeked around the corner. Nobody. There was a clothes basket sitting on the floor of the kitchen, but nothing else. Something like that immediately sets kids into a defensive mode, something so scary that they just play denial. He went back up the stairs. We just didn't hear him, right? The clothes basket was probably there before, etc. You don't remember if it was there before. It might have been. You're too scared to remember. This was the catalyst for a whole night of freaking the hell out. All the lights were turned on. We searched every inch of the small first floor. Nothing, of course. We carefully went upstairs and cracked the door to his dad's room and saw him sleeping, just adding fuel to the fire. Fast forward about an hour or two. We are absolutely convinced that either A, there's a weirdo in the house, or B, it's haunted. We tried waking up his dad, but he slept on. Instead, we turned on every light outside his dad's room and retreated to a recliner at the foot of his bed that faced the open door into the lit hallway. We were covered up to our necks by a blanket and wielding rollerblades, unable to find my cap gun. Our eyes are on the hallway, or more like the hallway wall lit up by the stained hallway light. We whisper things every now and then about what we should do if somebody's actually in the house, about if my friend had ever noticed anything weird about his house before, about if we should just go for broke and jump on his dad's bed or something to wake him up, just trying to wait out the night. I'm staring into that yellow hallway, and everything is starting to catch up to me. Sugar, paranoia, sleep deprivation. That color is burned into my mind. Anybody who's ever stared at a static thing for long periods of time under those conditions understands that you start hallucinating small movements and changes. This was no different. I even understood it at that age. At one point, staring hard into that wall, I saw one of those changes. The most imperceptible difference in lighting moving from left to right across the wall. In that hyper-alert state, it was enough to make me jump a little but was nothing more than a reaction, and I realized I was just seeing things. "Did you see that?" I went cold. My eyes started tearing up. I quickly asked him what he saw, hoping he would describe something else. Nope. He described it to a T, exactly what I had seen. We dropped the rollerblades and pulled up the covers further. I was terrified. From down the hallway, we heard 2 or 3 clicks that sounded enough like my cap gun dry firing to put the finishing touches on us. And we immediately ran over to his dad and woke him up without even trying to be casual about it now. I don't remember much after that, but I think we told him that we thought there was somebody in the house, because we knew we couldn't tell him that we thought we saw a ghost or something stupid like that. It was starting to get light at that point, and after he had gone around checking everything, we had settled down a lot, probably feeling more like idiots than anything. He yelled at us a little for being up late and having all the lights on, but nothing worse. I never remember us asking him if he had come down the stairs earlier in the night. We probably just forgot about it. I ended up finding the cap gun in my friend's room, where I had left it as far as I knew, in the direction the whatever had moved. That was the only time anything strange happened there that I personally was witness to, despite staying over there quite a bit for a few years.
Gonna spam some real shit from my life. None of this is falsehood, though that also means none of it is particularly interesting. Child, around 7 years old, early 90s. Ridiculously hot summer. Best friend and I are playing all day. Neighbors have a barbecue really late, and our parents are there, so we just screw around smashing rocks with hammers and looking inside. Bored, we try to go out of my bedroom window and get up on the roof. We get on top and look around us from this great new vantage point. In the distance, in a derelict, overgrown field, we see a classic UFO just hovering there, illuminating everything around it. We just stare at it, whispering in awe for what feels like half an hour. The light goes out and it just vanishes. Nothing but blackness in that direction. Parents tell us to get off the roof and go to bed. They ignore our UFO story. Next morning, as early as possible, we go to the field together. Grass is up to our shoulders. We smell a bonfire smell. Near the end of the field, the grass is all burnt away. There's a blackish lump in the corner of the field, near a cheap wooden fence that now looks like charcoal on one side. Poke it with my toe. It's soft. Black comes off. Get a stick. Poke it more. It's white underneath and slimy. Freaky as all hell. We get super spooked by how weird it is and run home. Parents don't give a single shit. They just tell us not to go down that end again, as the woods aren't safe to be screwing around near. Within the week, the area was cleaned up, tarmacked, and converted into a children's play area. Made me feel really uneasy 6 or 7 years later when the sci-fi I was naturally drawn to from this point showed the exact same thing. An X-Files episode and something else both showed this.
Looking for a new apartment near school. Find a friend of a friend kind of deal where a dude is looking to get out of his lease, supposedly in the military or some such shit, and he's willing to give me the security deposit. The apartment is sweet. Hell yeah. Have trouble sleeping after the first week. Wake up in the middle of the night to a terrible sound of grinding coming from the far wall. Would assume it's the neighbor, but that wall is on the corner of the building. It starts getting worse and worse. Literally cannot even sleep in the apartment. Go to the landlord and confront them about it. They admit that several people have complained about it in the past, but nothing bad has happened in the building. It's fairly new construction. A bro of mine hooks me up with a Catholic priest to come bless my apartment, 'cause I'm all freaked out and need to sleep. When the priest enters the house, he just kinda looks around. Looks me dead in the eye. My son, how much do you pay a month for this home? Like $700. Why? You should move out today. Forgo the cost. Walks out and doesn't even bless the place. And that is the story of how I ended up sleeping on my friend's couch for 5 months.
Be a cocky asshole 18-year-old. Refuse to keep living at home with my parents, even though I'm a full-time student and can only work part-time. Move into a shit-tier apartment in the city where my university is. After a month, I realize there's this chick who lives in the building across from me. Her building is shorter than mine, so I'm a story or so above the roof of her building and have a fairly good view of her prancing about nude on the roof. My mom is a huge Friends fan, so I figure this is my version of the fat, naked guy. About 2 months later, a Wiccan chick is prancing on the roof under the full moon. The moon is bright enough that I can see pretty clearly, and I notice something move from the next rooftop. Looks like a skinny dude creeping on the Wiccan chick, but I don't have much room to judge. Start looking out for Roof Dude, and he always shows up. Seems to know the Wiccan chick's schedule better than I do. Come home exhausted one night and don't turn off the light like I normally do to not be noticed. Wiccan chick doesn't notice me, but I see that Roof Dude does. I know this because he walked away from his normal watching perch to the edge of the roof he's on closest to me, and his face caught the light from the street lights. I give a nervous wave, hoping it's not her boyfriend, and I'm going to have to find new entertainment. Roof Dude hops onto the ledge, and then fucking leaps across the distance between us to land on my windowsill. It's January and cold, so thankfully the window is closed, but I got a good look at him, lanky and pale. The only thing that really stood out to me were the eyes. I sprinted out of my apartment, down numerous flights of stairs, and hid in the communal laundry room that had enough traffic through it from the other renters that I felt safe. Suck it up and return to the apartment the next morning with friends just in case. Don't even care that they're calling me a wuss. Nothing is out of place. The window is intact. Look at the windowsill and find footprints in the snow. Buddies are slightly uneasy. They stop calling me a pussy and let me stay with them. Move back in with my parents. Don't even care that I have to drive a half hour to get to school. And before someone comments on it, yeah, the Wiccan chick was nude, on a rooftop, in the snow. Part of the reason it was entertaining to watch her was because of how crazy it was. Don't know if she was Wiccan, that's just what I called her.
Oh, see here, be about 7 years old, live in Austria. I would sometimes go wandering into the woods with my dad. Sometimes we'd collect mushrooms, sometimes cornelian cherry. Sometimes we'd just look at wild boar, that kind of stuff. Be on one of those trips. We're about a mile into the woods, hear rustling in the bushes. Get excited because I really hope to see some kind of animal. Just a mouse, apparently. Little Buddy bolts across the way. Suddenly, about 50 meters in front of us, a herd of wild boar bolts out of the bushes with incredible speed. I am stunned by how fast they can run in the thick bush. I head a few meters ahead of my dad. Stay back. There might be more to come anon. I turn around. Right behind my dad is a huge black or dark brown thing, just slowly moving across the path. Dad, look. Just as I say that, the thing plows right into the bushes. Never really saw that thing again. But sometimes I get a strange feeling when strolling through the woods. Pick related. What it looked like.
B12, kicked out of school. Grounded till death, so home alone quite often. Really dumb meth and DXM addiction, just overdosed. Spend 3 days awake. Drank 10 ounces a little over 3 hours ago. Bumpinthenight.mp3. Nobody is up, fuck it, I'll just hide till I forget inevitably. Shadow people mixed with auditory hallucinations and DXM delirium on top of sleep deprivation. Oh fuck this. Lay down. Inevitably forgot. Feels nah man. Ceiling starts melting and is yellow. I'm stuck in my bed. Drooling spurg. Spiders pour from the ceiling and walls lining. I fucking hate spiders. Used to have hallucinations of giant spiders as a kid. This is not good. Crawling all over me. Millions now. Walls are black. Crawling in me now. In my ears, mouth, nose, etc. Fucking choking on spiders. Can't see 'cause spiders in my eyes. Fucking traumatized for years. Flashbacks. Feel them on me all the time. Always look for spiders when I'm in a room now. Don't walk under trees. The whole shebang. Fucking spiders, man. Don't do drugs. The spiders want you to.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.